Jolly. Let's go and grab a keyboard. So I need this keyboard to fix a computer that is currently not working. Reason being is I've just got a different one to put Home Assistant on because the Raspberry Pi that I use is currently lagging, and as if by magic, I can't find it. So I'm hoping it isn't actually in a pile of crap at home. Never mind. Got it. Right, back to fix this PC. So now we've got the keyboard, what we want to do is install Home Assistant on this new Optiplex, new old Optiplex from eBay, I think it was. Put that off to one side. It's currently running a Raspberry Pi, so got the Zigbee dongle on the top there. It's just powered off a USB hub, and I've been having quite a few problems with it crashing and having errors on the micro SD card, so that's basically the reason for moving to something a bit more permanent. I've got myself a 2TB hard drive, so you can store some CCTV footage on here through scripted and a few other things down the line, and an Ethernet cable. So I've got a power line adapter just plugged in here, and that's what the Optiplex will be running off. So to get started, I'm going to flash the live image of Home Assistant downloaded off the website directly to the hard drive. So a bit unconventional in that you have to use a USB to SATA adapter or NVMe, whichever drive type you're using. So I'll go ahead and plug that in, and then some status lights when that's plugged in. Like so. And I'll go ahead and flash the image onto the drive. So I'll just select that and flash. So this will always erase all of the data on the drive. In this case, I have nothing on there that's important. It's just a spare drive. Nearly there, just finishing validating. So drive all ejected, just need to disconnect. And now that's done, we're ready to install that into the machine. So really simple on these. There's a thumb screw that I've already removed. Slide forwards, the faceplate comes off and lifts out. So some of these will come with a NVMe SSD or a 2.5-inch drive installed already out of the box. This is an ex-corporate unit, so everything's been removed. And I also need to install a stick of RAM. These take DDR4 SODIMMs, so nice and cheap compared to DDR5. It's all toolless as well, which is nice, being a business class machine. So in this case, drive caddy slides out, and just make sure I get this the right way around. This clicks into the caddy, with little pins, as you can see. A little bit tight, but it will go if you just have some patience. There we go. So that's got a built-in shock mount, which is nice. And then just slide that back into the machine. And then underneath the CPU cooler, again toolless, you've got two clips. That all lifts out, exposing your RAM slots underneath. So you've got two slots underneath there for, I think it's up to 64 gigs of RAM. In this case, we've only got an 8 gig stick. So I'll just install that into the top slot, which is the primary slot on this machine. Nice solid click, and then just need to slot that back in and down with the CPU. So that is also shock mounted, so nice and simple. On this machine there is Wi-Fi. I actually don't have the card, that must have been removed in this particular case. However, I might consider that down the line, depending on where this is actually going to live. As it's a home assistant machine, it doesn't need to be in a rack or anything as such, just in the best place for the Zigbee radios and Z-Wave dongles, etc. And that is that. So all we need to do now is connect it up and we'll be ready to get started installing the Home Assistant OS. Just going to connect the Ethernet ready. I've already got the power adapter for this machine ready to go, so we'll connect that up. And I also have an HDMI which we will use for testing. So that's plugged in, that is also connected, and we have network. So if I press the power button and switch the input on the display, the machine is booting up, which is brilliant. There's very little config to do with these, apart from installing the image to the hard drive. It's really simple. Can take a few minutes to boot as it initializes the OS and gets online. Once we get an IP address, we should be ready to go. So after a little bit of diagnosis, I've managed to figure out what the issue was. It was a bad flash on the Home Assistant installation. And as you can see, we now have a fully working install. And this has been restored. I've moved over the Zigbee dongle from the old system onto the new one, and that seems to be running perfectly. So everything is exactly as it was. I don't have to do any reconfiguration or anything just like that. There's a few updates that I needed to do anyway, so I'll go ahead and do those. But as you can see, if we go onto the hardware, it's now running on a generic x86. It's a 64-bit version. Processor usage very minor, and memory usage also very low, which is exactly what I wasn't seeing with the Raspberry Pi. Just doing a quick check of how quickly it loads camera feeds, which is where initially I was struggling, and 1, 2, 3, and those are actually live feeds from the cameras, so nice and fast. So this is definitely a bit of a labour of love. I didn't actually have to do this because the Raspberry Pi 4B seems to work quite well in all other aspects. In terms of video processing, it is actually quite limited, and there's not really much you can do to improve it. So when you've got camera feeds from Unify or Reolink or any of the other big companies that do decent quality, high bitrate cameras for CCTV or other purposes, then you do need something with maybe an Intel processor or a graphics accelerator, which you simply can't really add to these without spending an extortionate amount of money. Or so yeah, mission accomplished.